What's going on, everyone? Oh, yeah. This week we've got a 2022 drummer's wish list. I get questions every single week like, what drum set would you recommend for this amount of money? Which double pedal would you recommend for this amount of money? So I put together this nice list of drumming gear, and we'll have multiple price options for most of the categories. Because obviously you don't want to spend $10,000 on something if you're just starting out and not even sure if you're gonna like it, but I will put the links for everything in the description below so you can check them out if you feel so inclined. Quick disclaimer, I cannot guarantee that all these prices will be the exact same by the time you watch this video, because, you know, prices change, yeah? Let's start with full drum kits, and you guys know that I'm a pearl freak. So, first up, we've got the Roadshow Junior for $350. This is a smaller sized entry-level kit designed for drummers under 10 years old. These are poplar drum shells, and it comes with everything you need, including sticks, a bass drum pedal, and a throne. If you're older than 10 and need an entry-level kit, they have the regular Roadshow kits, which start at $500 for the Jazz kit or $600 for the Fusion kit. Next up are the Export EXX series. These are made of poplar and mahogany, and these start around $879. These have upgraded hardware, including the pedals, but these do not include any cymbals. Getting into maple shells now, which are my personal favorite, we have the Decade Maple kits starting at around $900 for the 5-piece kits. And if you're asking why these are only $20 more than the Export, these maple kits do not come with any of the hardware, it's just the drum shells. But these are really nice, and they also have 7-piece configurations for just over $1,200. There's also some 8-piece double bass Export kits for $1,400, just saying. Going up from there, we have the Session Studio Select, which are birch and mahogany shells. Then we get into the Masters Maple Complete, which are 6-ply 100% maple goodness. These can go anywhere from $1,900 up to $2,100. Jumping up, we've got the Reference Pure kits, which have maple shells with birch and African mahogany inner plies. Nice. Then of course we can go nuts with the Masterwork series, which is the absolute top of the line. These are the best drums Pearl has to offer. There's a few configured kits on Sweetwater already, but you can also customize the entire kit individually, including the hardware, lugs, amount of plies, custom finish, literally everything. It's great. If you've got a rich Uncle Tony, I bet you wouldn't mind having him deliver one of those to your cav. Next up is something I'll always recommend to any drummer of any experience level. Drum lessons. And since I don't have time to give online lessons right now, I can tell you guys to go check out Drumeo, which is also the sponsor of this video. If your goal is to start drumming, get back into drumming, or just spend as much time as you can learning everything about the drums, Drumeo is where it's at. Their website is packed with lessons, and these are put together by some of the best drummers in the world. They have new featured coaches every month, and they'll give you expert advice, host special live stream events, and even answer some of your biggest questions. And this year, they're bringing in a bunch of new coaches. Maybe you've heard of some of these drummers. Hannah Welton, Grayson Nekrutman, Aaron Spears, Dennis Chambers, Steve Smith, Simon Phillips, Todd Suckerman, Jay Weinberg. Yes, you heard me correctly. You'll be learning directly from those guys. Holy smokes. And like I said, whether you're just starting out or wanting to learn advanced stuff, they got you covered. Use the link in my description to get a free 30-day trial. It takes less than a minute to sign up. Just do it. It's amazing. Alrighty, let's look at bass drum pedals next. First up, we've got the entry-level P530, which is a single pedal under $75, and it's got a dual chain drive, which I did not expect for such a cheap pedal. For a good entry-level double pedal, I recommend the P922. It is a single chain double pedal for under $250, and this is the same double pedal I used for the Pearl eMerge demo. You can get some pretty decent speed out of it. For $400, we have the Eliminator Solo, which has a double chain drive, so it's more durable, stable, and you get a better feel than a single chain. For just over $500, there's the Redline version. This has nicer footboards, comes with the quad beaters, and it has the optional belt drive version instead of the chain drive. And then we've got my favorite pedals when it comes to playing super fast double bass, Axis longboards. Axis have been my go-to pedals since 2008, because when it comes to playing fast, Axis wins the prize. These are available directly on their website, and they start at $675 for a double pedal, or if you want to get 2 singles, you can do that for as cheap as $480. You can choose the color, cam style, and the spring assembly, which is awesome. Let's cover cymbals next, and since I'm a minor artist, well, you know. For entry level, we have the HCS series. These are made of brass, whereas most of the other cymbals are made of bronze. And what's really awesome about the HCS series is they have a lot of different options, especially for an entry-level line. Most cymbal companies will probably have 3, 4, maybe 5 types of cymbals in the entry line, but HCS has it all. Multiple crashes, multiple splash sizes, chinas, trash crashes, they even have a bell, and Sweetwater has some crazy deals on HCS packs. There's even one you can get like 10 of them for $500, which is insane. Moving up in quality, I recommend the Classics Custom Dark line. These might be priced at the intermediate level, but these are used by plenty of professional minor artists, including myself. I'm currently currently using the 12-inch Trash Splash and the 20-inch Dark Ride on my kit right now. It's awesome. There's also Classics Custom Brilliant, Extreme Metal Series, the new Classics Custom Duals, which just came out last year. And yes, you can find some great pack deals on Sweetwater for some of those too. It's also worth mentioning that on the Meinl website, you can listen to demo videos of almost every cymbal they make, which is a really nice try before you buy feature. At the top of the Meinl barrel, we have the Pure Alloys, Pure Alloy Customs, and of course Byzance. The Pure Alloys are really sonically pleasing to hear. They just have that classic traditional cymbal sound, you know? Not too bright, not dark sounding. They feel good to play too. These are actually the line of cymbals I was using for the Devin Townsend online green screen concert thingy. The Pure Alloy Customs are right there too. They have that cool hammered look, and they're also a little bit lighter in weight. Then the Byzance at the very top. These are all made in Turkey, hand hammered. Each one is unique. They don't come off a factory line. And there's 8 different series within Byzance. That goes from the classic traditional ones all the way up to the top of the line Foundry Reserve cymbals. But my personal favorites of these are probably the Byzance Brilliants, especially those Chinas. They really sound like sex. Next, let's go over some snare drums, because why not? It's arguably the most important sounding drum of the kit, and some people like to collect snare drums. Yeah. Looking on Amazon, of course, we've got the Griffin snare for under 60 bucks, which isn't terrible, but also not great. For $173.99, we have the Pearl Igniter snare, which is a collaboration with Casey Cooper, and that thing sounds really good for the price. Alternatively, there's the modern utility snare drums for just a tad more. Moving up to $400, we have the Masters Maple Complete snares. You know I like that yummy maple. Or if you can get your hands on one of the Joey Jordison signature snares, it's probably a good idea. Ever since we lost Joey, those have been popping up a lot more. It's an incredible snare. I love mine. It's really got that Joey pop. And for an expensive snare option, let's go with the Pearl Sensatone Premium Beaded Brass. This thing cracks. But, you know, it's not cheap for a single drum. For drum heads, there's not exactly a cheap versus expensive option, so I'll just show you my favorites. For snare drums, I always prefer a coated head. My favorites are probably the Evans UV2s and also the ST Dry sounds pretty good. But if you want machine gun blast beats, my favorite snare head of all time is going to be the Hybrid. Sure, it's twice the cost of a regular snare head, but it'll last you more than twice as long. There's some Kevlar in these. For tom heads, clear versus coated is obviously a personal preference depending on if you want more attack or warmth. For myself, the EC2s are definitely my favorite clear heads. They have really nice attack and some nice oily internal dampening. And for coated tom heads, I'm going to have to give it to the UV2s again. I actually did a whole video on the UV2s. Go check that out if you haven't. For kick heads, the EMAD 2 is my go-to because it's thick, durable, gives us a nice fat hit. Perfect for us Bachis at 222 BPMs or faster. And if you need some quiet mesh heads for whatever reason, I'm gonna recommend the LV heads by Artom. I also did a video on these last year. They're really nice feeling heads, super durable. I haven't broken one yet. Let's talk about hardware next, and more specifically, drum racks, because I hate having tripod stands all over the place. And drum racks for me are super simple. I only trust one brand, and that's Pearl. Because of that square tubing on the rack, you're gonna get 0 slippage from hitting super hard. Not to mention they look fucking sick. They have 2 different rack systems. The cheaper one is the DR80. Amazon has that for just over $300. It's definitely great quality, but if you want maximum stability, you're gonna wanna go with the DR500 series. And there's 2 different versions of this rack. We have the straight rack bars, that goes for $571. That's the one I use. And then we also have the curved bar rack option, that's $634. And of course, those are just the basic racks. You can add accessories, more bars, more clamps. You can even do a double tier rack system like Mike Mangini does. The possibilities are endless. Let's get into practice pads next, because every drummer needs a practice pad. For the standard practice pad, I recommend the Evans Real Feel. It's a 12-inch pad, so you can put it right on top of your snare drum. There's also a 6-inch version that you can screw onto the top of a cymbal stand. If you want a crazy wrist and forearm workout, I suggest Artom's Moon Gel pad. This thing has pretty much 0 rebound. It really makes you work those muscles. The 7-inch pad is $35, or you can get the 14-inch pad for 45 bucks. And finally, if you want a pad that forces you to work on extreme accuracy, try the Wicked Chops pad by A-Head. This little chode is only 1.5 inches, and it can also screw onto a cymbal stand. For kick practice pads, Evans also makes a great Real Feel pad for this, or alternatively, you can get a Gibraltar pad. Let's dive into electronics now, starting with E-kits. At the super duper entry level, you can actually get some of those fold-up matte E-kits on Amazon for between 50 and 100 bucks. Just be careful though, because those are super cheap, and you know, you do get what you pay for, so make sure you read the reviews. For a beginner level E-kit, I recommend the Donner DED 200 on Amazon. This is that super cheap electronic drum kit that I did a video for last year. For under 500 bucks, it's really not too shabby. They also now have the upgraded version, the DED 400, which has an upgraded module and even more sounds. Next up is the Alesis Command Mesh Kit. This one is 800 bucks. This is sort of like the Donner kit, but much better quality. Then for $1,400, there's the DM10 kit. That comes with more cymbals, more drums, and bigger sized pads. Jumping up more in price, we have the Strike and Strike Pro, which are made of wood shells. But for the big daddy, if you can afford it, I absolutely recommend the Pearl E-Merge kit. This thing is fan-freaking-tastic. It's extremely accurate. If you didn't see my demo video on that yet, go check it out. Your cav will be blown. And if you're saying, but Samus, I don't want a full E-kit. I want to trigger my acoustic drums. Well, I got you covered there too. For super cheap, you can get these sticky head mount triggers for 15 bucks each, but I wouldn't count on those being very accurate. For about 20 bucks, you can get the D-Drum Red Shot triggers. These are definitely better than the sticky ones, and you can also get them in a 5-pack for 100 bucks. But my favorites are the Acoustic Pros and the Chrome Elites. The Acoustic Pros have been the industry standard for drum triggering for many years now. You cannot go wrong with those. They range from 40 to 60 bucks depending on which drum you're triggering, or you can also get a 5-pack of these for 200 bucks. My favorites are definitely the Chrome Elites though. These are what I use to trigger my acoustic drums. These are basically an upgraded version of the Acoustic Pros, obviously now with Chrome, but they also use a better transducer so we get better sensitivity and adjustments. And these range from 60 to 80 individually, or you can get the 5-pack for 300 bucks. Even better, they also have a pack that includes a hard case and all the cables needed for 400 bucks. And if we want to look at unique pedal-mounted bass drum triggers, my favorites will probably always be the Axis E-kits. I've honestly never used a more accurate bass drum trigger, but the one downside to these is that these triggers can only be used with Axis pedals. So of course, if you don't have Axis pedals, haha, you suck! No, I'm just kidding. If you really need a pedal-mounted trigger and you don't have Axis pedals, go watch my bass drum trigger shootout video from August 2020. So now that we've got drum triggers, we need a module to plug these triggers into, or else we're not gonna get any sound. For only 169 bucks, there's the D-Drum DD-TI. It's got 10 inputs, and the reason this one is so cheap is because it's just a trigger interface. There's not actually any sounds on it. So if you plan on using MIDI output to your computer software for drum samples, this module might be all you need. And yes, I'll cover drum software in a minute. Stop getting ahead of me, Susan! Next up is the Roland TM2. This is priced at 250 bucks, and this one only has 2 trigger inputs, but it's got over 100 sounds, and it lets you use your own drum samples with it, which is pretty cool. So if you're only triggering 2 things, like both kicks or 1 snare and 1 kick, this one might be all you need. Moving up is the Alesis Strike module. This is 800 bucks. It's got 12 inputs and individual volume faders on the front, which is a nice feature. 1800 instrument sounds, 136 preset kits, and some really nice customization options. I've personally never tried this module, but I did used to have a DM5 and I loved it, so Alesis definitely knows what they're doing when it comes to drum modules. Then jumping way up in price and quality, we have the Pearl Mimic Pro, which has a price tag of 2,400 bucks, but this thing is unfreaking believable. I haven't gotten my hands on one of these yet either, but I've heard from many professionals that this is the best drum module out there. 16 inputs and outputs loaded with Slate Drums 5, and it has a 120 gigabyte hard drive, so you can load a lot onto it. And the amount of things you can tweak on here is insane, especially the blending and the advanced triggering options. Very realistic. If you want the best out of your triggers, that's the one. Moving on to drum sampling software. I've been using EasyDrummer for many, many years. They have great samples and they're always working on releasing more. Right now you can get the light version of EasyDrummer for $129 or the regular full version for $179. I definitely recommend the full version, but if you need to save money, you'll still be happy with light. EasyDrummer is actually really good for helping you write songs as well. It's got a bunch of pre-written MIDI grooves in there that you can just drag and drop onto your timeline. It's great! It comes with a few sound packs in it already, but they also have more than 50 additional sound packs on their website. You can get them for around 90 bucks each, totally worth it. Or if you want to get crazy, there's also Superior Drummer, and that gives you extreme control over every little detail on the kit. You can mess with the room settings, the type of drum heads, microphone positioning, literally everything. You can get the cross-grade version for $320 if you already have EasyDrummer, or you can just buy the full regular version for $420. Let's look at headphones next, because you need some kind of hearing protection if you're gonna play the drums. No ifs, ands, or buts. Starting around 30 bucks, we have the Vic Firth Kid Phones and the regular size isolation headphones. These are basically just ear protection though, so if you still want to listen to music while having these on, you can step up to the SIH2s, which include a stereo cable, and these are just under 90 bucks. Alternatively, if you can still find the Mark I of these headphones, they might be a little cheaper, but these Vic Firth headphones will cut sound by about 25 decibels. Moving up, we have the D-Drum isolation headphones for $129. These are sort of the same concept as the Vic Firth headphones, but these cut 36 decibels of sound. How about that? If you want something even better, you can check out the NCQ1s by Korg. And I'll totally forgive Korg for calling these DJ headphones, because they work just as well for drummers. These are just over $300, but they have active and passive noise cancellation and work with Bluetooth. So, you know, much more advanced, yeah. To add one more option here, I should also recommend custom fit in-ear monitors. I've been using the brand Stealth Sonics for a few years now, and I love them. They have a model with 2 drivers for $318, the 4-driver model for $900, or if you want to get crazy with the 9 drivers, that'll run you $1,500. And they also have universal fit models for each line if for some reason you don't want the custom fit. As drummers, we also have quite the need for accessories, and first we have the drum dial. This is the best tool for helping you tune your drums. It will measure the drum head tension above each lug and give it to you as a number. Then you just tune each lug to get the same number all across the drum, and that really helps you get into the ballpark of sounding yum-yums. You can grab the original analog version for $60, or if you're a digital baakie, $85. Next we have the Pearl Tech Tool for $17, and this is a drum key and tool set all in one device. It's a Swiss Army chode. Of course has a drum key, different Allen wrench sizes, various screwdrivers, and of course a bottle opener. Dampening your drums is also pretty important to help control the sustain and resonance. So for this I recommend things like Moon Gel or Meinl Drum Honey, or if you really want to be a cheap bastard, go to the dollar store and get some of those window gel clings. Let's go over microphones next, since I know a lot of you baakies want to start recording your own stuff. And most of you guys know I am a huge fan of Rode mics. I'm even using their NTG shotgun microphone to talk to you guys right now. So for cheap options, we have the Pod mic for $100, and this actually sounds pretty damn good on the snare drum or even the toms. Then we have the M5 matched pair for cymbals, overheads, or toms, and $200 for the pair. That's pretty good. For a mid-range price, there's the M3 condensers. These are $150 each. You can use these on your snare, toms, or cymbals. And for just a little more at $219 each, we have the NT5 small diaphragm condensers. These sound excellent for cymbals or toms. And one more unique mid-priced option for the snare, we have the Granelli G5790. This is a right angle SM57, $155. Moving up to the high end, we have the Rode NT3 condensers. These are $269 each, and these are amazing for the snare and toms. Actually, these are what Andy Sneap uses, so how about that? There's also the NT6 compact condensers. These can be used on the toms. These are a little more pricey at $429. These are what Dave Otero uses. For high-end cymbal microphones, I recommend the NT55s. These are super crisp and clear. These go for about $369 each, and these are the microphones I use on my kit. I have 4 NT55s miking my cymbals. Going even higher, we have the NTR ribbon microphone. This one is perfect if you want to use a room microphone that's not necessarily right next to the drum set. And finally, we have the TF5s. You can get a matched pair of these for $1,500, but these are top of the line for overhead mics. What good are all these microphones if we don't have any recording interfaces to plug them into? If you didn't know, yes, you need a recording interface in order to record your microphones onto your computer software. I've been using Focusrite interfaces for many years, and they have a bunch of options as well. If you barely need any inputs, you can probably get away with the 2i2 for $169, but most of the time, if we're miking a drum set, we're gonna need a little more than 2 inputs, yeah? Next is the 18i8. This has 4 microphone inputs and an additional 4 1/4-inch inputs on the back, and this guy will run you about $420. And if you need 8 microphone inputs, I suggest the 18i20. This is the interface I currently use. This has a price tag of $550, and that is well worth it for 8 mic inputs. But if you need even more than that, you can get the Octo Pre, which will give you another additional 8 microphone inputs, and that's $439. Whew. Okay, well, as you can see, there can be a lot of different gear that's involved with drumming. We went through all that stuff, and that's not even everything. There's a bunch we didn't even cover, like drumsticks, traveling cases, personal mixers. But yeah, I had to stop it somewhere because this video is already a fuck ton of work. And I know what you're thinking. Holy shit, playing drums can be expensive. Well, you better get a job. Oh!